wicked to gunge up your dock. So bless you, Brunel to the rescue. Now we can flush you, glorious Silt.
Yes, silt, ladies and gentlemen, silt. A great problem that has bedevilled the floating harbour since it was constructed some 200 years ago. Bristol was once a great port, second only to London and renowned throughout the maritime world. Hundreds of ships could be seen here, tied up 2 or 3 abreast. The docks were thick with masts. But the great port had always suffered 2 major problems. It was situated some 6 miles from the River Severn, up the twisting, difficult to navigate River Avon, and when the tide was out, there was no water. Just what you need for a dock. By the mid-18th century, Bristol was losing trade to Liverpool, who now boasted extensive new docks, complete with water. Something had to be done. The Dock Company adopted a scheme put forward by one of the great civil engineers of the day, William Jessup. His plan was to form a float by damming the River Avon at Hot Wells and Totterdown and diverting its course along a new cut. Once in port, ships would now stay afloat at all states of the tide, hence its name, the floating harbour. Between 1804 and 1809, and at great expense, the harbour was duly constructed. Seemed like a good idea at the time, but by damming the River Avon in this way and the River Froom that flowed into it, the tidal scour, which had previously carried off all the sewage and other objectionable refuse from the city, had effectively been sealed off. William Jessup failed to recognise this as a problem and had made inadequate provision in his harbour improvement scheme for keeping the water wholesome. He had built an overfall dam at Hot Wells to control the level in the harbour, but in so doing had caused the water to stagnate. The Dock Company introduced various measures to deal with the problem, but the build-up of the silt, the sewage and the stench grew steadily worse, and by 1832 had reached really serious proportions. Enter our local hero, Isambard Kingdom Brunel. Aged only 26 and somewhat financially hard-pressed at the time, he was anxious for large commissions and seized the opportunity by submitting a report to deal with the nuisance. In a few brisk paragraphs he cut through to the root of the problem of silting in the harbour, namely the near stagnant condition of the water causing it to deposit mud brought down by the Avon and the Froom. In his solution he stated that a constant stream, though nearly imperceptible in its motion, will carry with it the lighter particles of mud, which form the principal part of such deposits. If the whole of the River Avon were at all times running through the float, and which I have no doubt Mr. Jessup originally intended should be the case, such a stream might generally be obtained. He went on to make specific suggestions, which included a steam-propelled device for scraping mud away from the walls of the harbour. Under his direction, a trunk and a set of culverts were prepared to scour mud under the overfall dam, converting it to an underfall. Together, these measures brought remarkable improvement in the silting conditions, particularly around the Cumberland Basin entrance. The directors thus had good reason to be satisfied with their young engineer. But had he solved the problem? You see,